Africa, like every other continent of the world, has grown through the process of time. Now, its origin and originality, civilization, languages, cultures, religions are as good as its people. Now, when you talk about Africa, you talk about politics and you talk about so many other things that make the continent a unique one. Welcome to Africa Diary, a program that gives you updates of what have happened through the week and what is about to be. Now, we want to welcome you officially into the new year 2021. It's been a very, very wonderful journey all through 2020. The ups and downs, the vicissitude, the bad, the good, and the ugly. We will give God the glory that we're still very much alive today. Africa Diary is the program, and on this platform, we tour around African continent from north to east to south, and of course to the west. Once again, my name is Ajara Tijani. As usual on the program, you know, I always make a stand-up presentation, but being a new year, we're doing it differently. Of course, how do you begin a new year? Of course, the way and the best way to start the year is to do things differently. Now, there's always a saying about new year, new resolution, new year, new beginning. So how do we hop into 2021 smoothly as we ride through the month of January or through to December? So many things to talk about. We are today going to look at Africa in retrospect and moving forward into 2020. When I mention retrospect, I'm talking about 2020. Now, on today's episode of the program, we will be touring around as usual from home front to different parts of the African nations. But today, we're going to be having a guest on the platform. Ladies and gentlemen, who do we have today? Of course, my guest today is an educationist par excellence. He's a prolific writer, and of course, he is a literary analyst, or you can say literary critic. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I'm talking about no other person than Ubaji Isiaka Abubakar Easy. It's a pleasure having you on the show.
It's a pleasure having
Happy New Year to you, sir.
Happy New Year too.
Okay, now this is Africa Diary, where we look left, right, center, you know, from the north to south to the east, even to Central Africa, you know, and of course we move to West Africa. Now, the way we've always been doing it on the program is such that we pick, you know, special stories from different part of the nation, and then we report, we dissect, we analyze. But on today's episode, we want to do it, you know, in a very different way. We're going to look at, you know, each continent, I mean each nation, and then representing each block, and then we hop into it. So how are you today, sir?
Alhamdulillah, I'm very good.
When we mention Africa, African continent, of course, its politics is different from other politics of the world. When you talk about security, of course, the security situation in Africa, you know, might be similar to other parts of the world, but it is quite different. When we talk about the economy of Africa, when we talk about health, even though as the pandemic is ravaging round, the way it, you know, had its toll on Africa, especially in 2020, is a little bit different from other parts of the world. Now, let's begin from politics. Now, when we talk about Africa from south, north, east, and west, what is your view of last year's politics in Africa, beginning from Somaliland to Somalia, to Ethiopia, to Uganda, Tanzania, and the rest of West Africa? What's your view of the politics in last year, and what are the effects, or should I say a hangover or a lingering effect of what happened, what transpired last year, you know, as we hop into 2020?
When we talk about the politics in Africa, one thing I've come to realize is that man is a political animal, and the politics of Africa is not much different, or even not much different, or even unique, as from politics played in other parts of the world. There has always been conflicts in places where you find power. So the special privileges attached to power brings with it much conflict, and it has been so from ancient times. Kings have been killed, assassinations have happened here and there, and Africa is not any different from that, from this part of the world where these things have happened. It has always been there, even right from the time of Shaka the Zulu, of the Zulu kingdom. He was also killed too, and somebody else took over. So these intrigues and power play has always been around, and it has led to conflict of interest. Who gets to rule or control the resources of a nation, or control the people of that nation? So Africa, I wouldn't say. I used to, when I looked around and saw that most African countries had some African countries, or rather, still had dictatorships, and I was thinking it was unique until I saw that Putin was also has been trying a long time to remain in position of power. He doesn't want
Vladimir
to
Putin.
Vladimir Putin of Russia.
Of Russia. Okay.
So you notice that this is not. We used to
peculiar
say okay,
to Africa.
So we used to say it's a die-hard situation, or a situation by we call it Wole Soyinka, Professor, call it sit-tightism. Right? They want to sit tight and not leave the positions of power. So, but with Putin example, you can see that it's not an African thing. Every man lost for power, and when he gets it, he doesn't want to.
Let me take you up on that,
So, yeah.
Easy. When you said this is actually not peculiar to, speaking of peculiarity this time around,
it's a human
human phenomenon.
Problem, yeah.
Yes, but when something becomes very, very common and very consistent, and you get to hear it from this nation, that nation, and it becomes a trademark of the continent. What do you say about that?
No, I still, like I said, it's not still unique to me, because what you can see, I've never heard of an African trying to conquer the world and dominate the world. It has happened in the West. Hitler tried it. Benito Mussolini also wanted the same role. Julius Caesar the ones in the ancient time. So there has always been that loss for power.
Alexander the Great.
So you cannot say that Africa is unique. Perhaps we are still at that stage whereby there's still that primitive loss of power. But this has also happened in the West, either at the time in the past, or even at present, or it's going to happen in the future as well. So it's not just they said, okay, look at who would believe that America will be facing what they're facing today with Trump. Not wanting to give up even after a glaring election. A sitting president is complaining of being robbed of this political position, or election being rigged, even while you are the sitting president. So, but for Africa, I think there has been rampant cases of people not wanting to abandon power for years, and it has from Zimbabwe, where you talk about Robert Mugabe. And the painful aspect is that most of these people rose to power because they wanted to correct this kind of things. They felt that they were being exploited, they were being oppressed, somebody who has been in power and has refused to relinquish power. So the fight to get this power, and when they get there, they become the monsters that they want fought against. Right, so you talk of Robert Mugabe. With his impact, he had to go rubbish his legacy by trying to remain in power, and at the end of the day, was forced out of that position. Talk about Omar Bashir of Sudan, and at the end of the day too, he was also rubbished out of that position. He came to power based on popularity, that he was going to change things. He wasn't going to do things as others did it. And still, the same thing happened. Look at what is happening in Uganda today. A man who came to power because he was fighting oppression. He rose to power, defeated Ugandan Idi Amin, and he didn't want the dictatorship. And another day, he himself has become a self-styled dictator today.
Even
I'm
though I
talking
was
of,
very young, I was quite very young that time. You know, when you hear the story or you hear the noise around Idi Amin, you think when they mention the worst thing or worst being ever existed, either in the scripture or even from the traditional narrations, you think the synonymous, or maybe when they mention, I don't want to, just be particular, or let's say devil, you think Idi Amin is the devil that we're talking about. But overtaking him was quite a lot of a challenge, and it was pretty much of a mission, to replace him with a better candidate, with a better leadership, with a better, human being who would change the narration. But what do we see today? Let's just press a pause in Uganda. What do we see today? Now, since 1986, okay, let's say we are in East Africa now.
Okay.
And to be specific, Uganda. Since 1986, a child that is born or was born in 1986, by today, if it's a male child, must have been a father. If nothing is wrong with such a person.
Close to 34 years old.
Yes, and if a child of that time happened to be a female, by today, such child, will have even, even finished, bearing children. So what are we talking about? What is the situation with African people?
Oh, well, I think, like I said, it's just human nature, the lust of power.
Okay.
Nobody wants to have anyone who has a taste of power, the glamour that comes with it, the pomp and fecundity that comes with power, being attended to, everyone being at your beck and call. You just, at the snap of your finger, a man could lose his life. At the snap of your finger, a man could be spared. So that kind of thing, when you let it get into you, right? When you let it get into you, it becomes it becomes very difficult for you to relinquish that kind of position, because what you have to think about is, how am I going to live my life from henceforth? What do I need to do? So that's why you see people going to overturn elections and even extending, going against the constitution of a country and going for second term, third term, fourth term. They don't want to leave once they've gotten there. And it doesn't work that way. People have to realize that you can't forever be there. If you don't live there, either with amicably, you are going to leave. Something is going to move you out of there. Or one day, when death comes knocking, you would leave. So it doesn't belong to you. That position should go to others as well. If you feel you have done your best, you are not the best man for the job. You are not always the best man, or you are not even the only one who knows how to do it well. So what most African leaders fail to do is, they feel they want to remain there till the day they die, and they don't groom younger ones to take over. So if Museveni thinks that he wants that he should hand over, he's the best man for the job, why has he not groomed others? One thing about being a leader is being able to groom others who will take over from you in the future. That's how you know somebody who is truly a leader. So that when something happens in an emergency situation, it shouldn't be, until we see Museveni, we can't do anything. There has to be others that he has groomed and who can take charge where he's there. But probably because of fear that these others, when groomed, may turn back and fight against them too. Just like what happened with Thomas Sankara, where his best friend was the one involved, was used to exterminate him and pull him out of power. So, but nonetheless, leaders must cultivate that attitude of letting others know, groom somebody that you can sponsor, who will still maybe even answer to you, but the person will take over from you. You may be behind and, like the puppet master, okay, this is what you need to do, this is what you need to do. We have such a thing in Ghana, where Jerry Rawlings was like a godfather to some of the presidential candidates in Ghana till the day he died. So it's nothing new. But if the godfather means well for the country, then it won't manipulate a president to a point whereby it would have no effect, or that it won't manipulate him to do something wrong. Always, it's just there to guide, advise. Ex-presidents have been known to meet their counterpart and provide advice on how to run the country. So Museveni staying there for too long is really exasperating, and the youths are not happy with it. You can see what is happening in Uganda with the series of protests and the police challenge that is going on with it. So, and especially the case of Bobby Wine, a prominent critic and also a political opposition to Museveni. So you can see cases of series of arrests that have followed each other, just coming up with flamboyant allegations that do, or fictitious allegations that do not hold water anywhere, and you just level it up again. You level it against the man, and you know they want to hold him to the prison. And when it's released, the thing is that when it's released, his spirit is not dampened. When you fight somebody and you see that this person is unrelenting, you use violence and this person is not
doesn't feel intimidated.
Doesn't feel intimidated. Why not just let the person be?
No, why not create a level playground for political gladiators to rise to the field, and then let's give it a good fight. All right, there's so many places to go and other issues to touch as regards politics in Africa. But for now, we'll go for a short break on the program. Africa Diary is the program we're reaching you from CBA Studio, the voice of East Africa and beyond. Stay with us.
Hello out there. Tune in to CBA TV, the voice of East Africa and beyond. There's so many people around the world who are watching along with you.
Welcome back to the program. Africa Diary is the program in case you're just joining. And right about now, we are looking at every issues, every aspect of things that really affect the African continent. And on set today we have with us that man who is an educationist par excellence, a writer, literary analyst and critic, Obaji Isiaka Abubakar. Once again, welcome on the program.
Thank you very much for having me.
Okay, before we went for that break, we were discussing, issues in the East Africa here as regards Uganda. Now let's come home right about now. Okay. For nations, especially either sister nation or nations that are close to each other or one another, as the case may be, for such nations to grow faster, there ought to be a bilateral relation. There ought to be a very semantic relationship,
very true.
Between each nations.
Okay.
Now, for Somalia and Kenya, for quite some times, the relationship was, I would say, was very smooth and going on very peacefully. But there was a rise of tension recently before the conclusion of 2020 with regards to border issues and that resulted into a code calculation that formed into a climactic situation. That later led to a recall of each envoys, from each side. What is your view? What's your take on this?
Oh, I do not think. I do not think they have to go this far in terms of border dispute. This is something that could be settled amicably. Being that considering the fact that there are even neighboring nations, and this is it becomes a dicey case. Because even as it is now,
how do you mean dicey? How do you mean?
I mean, it's a difficult situation.
Okay.
And if you consider it very well, you look at it that sharing border is not the only thing that brings the only similarity or the point of convergence between Somalia and Kenya. They also share the same people. I think some Somalis also live. There's a Somali.
I've met a lot of Somali Kenyans.
Yeah, that
they
live
call
in
them
Kenya.
Somali Kenyans.
Now, how do you want to relate this to the construct of different countries in dispute? Because people will have families on each side, considering that they are Somalis. Some Somalis, even right here in Somaliland, would tell you that their uncle or something is from Kenya or something. So maybe probably because their mother or their father is from there, but still they regard themselves as one Somali. So if there is going to be dispute is going to be deepened, they should remember that at the end of the day, it would appear as if they are fighting amongst themselves, because the border they may even be fighting for. Majority of those that will be living on that border are still Somalis.
I know this happened to you quite a lot because it happens to me. You understand? When you walk on the streets, or maybe you're in the market, in the public places, when a Somalia person or Somalilanders people meet you, the first thing they refer any black, people that look like us here, they say Kenyatta or Kenyan people. You understand? So it goes to explain one thing. That means the only closest nation to Somali region is Kenya.
Yeah.
Now, there is a reason being provided, and I just want you to comment on it, whether it suffices enough to, to bring about this fracas between the two nations.
Okay.
Now, Somalia keeps, accusing Kenya beyond borders now, accusing Kenya of interrogating or maybe influencing the politics in Somalia. Maybe the electioneering process, or maybe as they prepare for the election, they keep accusing Kenya of interrogating or probably, putting mouth, so to say, putting some influence on it.
Okay.
What's your take on this?
It's very difficult for Kenya not to interfere, because as it is now, I think Kenya has contributes to the AMISOM soldiers that we have in Somalia.
Okay.
So how is it? Because you can see that the Somalia nation itself is a disheveled community or nation, so to speak. As it is now, the country lacks strong leadership still, even as at now. Despite the effort being made by Famajo and his cronies, you cannot say that it still lacks strong leadership, and there are several factors influencing the politics and even things that are going on in that country. You can't expect people who have deposited soldiers on your own country soil. It means that there is a gap, there's a lacuna in your security, and these people are trying to fill in the void for you. So definitely they will feel that they have a role to play in your destiny. It is only after you've been able to expunge them. If you, in as much as you keep needing their help, they will keep making demands of you, and this demand can come maybe directly or indirectly.
Directly or indirectly. Let's, for the want of time, let's move to other nations of the world. We're still on politics now. In West Africa, we're just going to pick a prototype that will represent other part of course, what really happened in Ivory Coast. It's not the same thing that is happening in Nigeria, in Ghana. Ghana just concluded its election, and so Niger and other parts like Senegal and just the rest of them. Now, for the case of Ivory Coast, in Africa, I can say larger percentage of what some nations are practicing is democracy, not military system of government or military rule, okay? And the democracy, the so-called democracy, calls for rotation of power within a specific, given time as approved by the law. Usually or popularly, I would say first and second time for a specific candidate.
Yes.
Now, in Ivory Coast, what happened back in 2009 to 2010, about, I would say, more than 3,000 lives were lost to the election violence as a result of the fact that Laurent Gbagbo, if you recall, didn't want to leave, the seat of power. Now, the angel, so to say, that was expected to replace him was Alassane Ouattara. Now, look at what's happening, or what happened in that bloc recently with the concluded election. That even Laurent Gbagbo, who was supposed to leave the stage at the expiring of the second time, decided to change something in the constitution.
Yeah.
So what is your comment on this?
Yes, so I think still just similar to the case of Uganda, but I think these people are beginning to copy each other. because once they see that one person has refused to leave, others also emulate and try to replicate same in their own countries as well. So it's not, but I think it's more of a human vice than an African thing. I don't think we are unique in that aspect. Every man lost for power. But when it comes to the case of Laurent Gbagbo, what I see that's quite unfortunate, not just for Laurent Gbagbo, but for others as well, who have been, who are like Museveni, others who have been on the seat beyond the time they should have stayed. So I feel it's unfortunate because they don't learn. They don't learn. No matter how big you are, right? You can't be greater. No matter how great you are, you can't be greater than the society that created you, right? So these people,
That's a word on the marble.
They don't realize this, and it's unfortunate that they don't look at what has happened in the past. Take, for example, look at Muammar Gaddafi of Libya. Look at his downfall. He was welcome. He came in as a hero. Everybody held him, loved him, respected him. But what did he had? What did he do to? He stayed beyond his welcome. He overstayed his welcome, and at the end of the day, he fell, just like a huge Iroko tree being cut off at once. And you talk about Zimbabwe. What happened to Robert Mugabe? So it's time. They should know that no matter the the level of support they get from the internal forces and external forces, it is not enough for them to assume that they should stay in power till the day they die. It is not enough for them. They have to realize if you feel that okay, fine, you don't want to relinquish your privileges, or you don't want to, you can put somebody else there, and sponsor the person, put the person in that position, and continue. If you can't put anybody there, it means you have an issue of trust, and you are not worthy to be a leader. You can't train others who will take over from you. That's what it means. So, and the funny thing is that there are some big there are some big countries or big organizations that are involved in all of this. They keep quiet when all this is happening. They see the man turning the constitution around and going for the third time. The UN is quiet. The African Union is quiet about this because
the European Union.
It is the European Union. These are they are because they are in the same class of demagogues, and they are not saying anything now. But wait for the protest to start, then they will start warning. Nobody should take over a democratically elected government.
What was the point you are driving at in that regard?
My point is that those who are supposed to talk are not talking. Look at what happened in Yahya Jammeh's Gambia when he lost the election and refused to leave. What did Nigeria say? Nigeria then said, we are sending our soldiers to that place and you have to leave whether you like it or not. I expect some of these countries to exert their influence and ensure that this kind of acts do not go unpunished. But what are they doing about it? They're not doing anything about it. They keep mute. But when there is an uprising, then they will start saying, oh, this country is in this problem. They don't realize the fact that, okay, for instance now, if anything happens in Somalia today, Kenya should know that they are in trouble because the refugees will come to their side. They will have to take care of these people. They can't turn them back.
Okay,
right?
I think
so.
Politics.
What I'm trying to say is that everybody must see how they can work hand in hand to make sure that their neighbor feels okay, because when there's fire burning in that country, it will affect all of that as well. Even Europe would not rest. Africans are running away from Africa today to get to Europe because they feel that this is not. The African countries are not countries for them. The youths are not trying to stay. And when they live in droves and force their way in there, it becomes a problem to them and they start complaining. So now is the time to ensure that things are good at this side so that these people don't keep coming there to disturb your own peace.
Okay, easy. I wouldn't want us to be like most African leaders that wouldn't want to, leave the power. I think we are overstaying
our welcome
on political issues now.
Okay.
Now let's briefly talk about other things that result an offshoot of politics. When political issues, aggravate to some levels, it becomes war. And in African continents across, there are some flashpoints where we're recording war right as we speak. You understand? Like what's happening in Sudan, and then now to be specific, in Ethiopia, that is very close to us here. What is your overview of what transpired between the the inter and the intra issues, the falling apart that occurred between the federal government of Ethiopia and Tigray?
Yeah, like I said, when you hear things like that, it's still all connected to politics, like you said, the politics develop into war. And in the case of Ethiopia, it's no different. It's not any different there, because you find that it's a problem of interest, who controls the seat of power, who feels that he has been exploited or cheated, or who feels that he should be there and it's not there and wants to get it by all means. Like what I know about Ethiopia is that the Tigrayan people have always controlled Ethiopians' resources or controlled the systems of power for so long, for the major number of years, and they feel as if they feel entitled. They are the rich people, and they have a lot of resources at their disposal, so they feel strong enough to fight against the federal forces. But what? One thing that baffles me is that there was a time I learned that there was a call for peace, and Ahmed Bey said that he's not interested in peace. He wants to go ahead with the war and fight this and fight it to the end. Yeah, that is that is the irony of it all. That is where I get annoyed, because I expected him to know better. I expected him to do better. Who gave this man the Nobel Peace Prize for in the first place? He shouldn't be getting. He shouldn't have that award if he is of that mindset. We expected him to be better, to know better. That at all point in time, when instead of war, you always seek for a truce, seek for discussion. Okay. But when you can attain that and you feel as if that, yes, I have to strike, I have to break the skull of these people to show them who's the boss, the war would never end. It may die down now, but it will resurrect in years to come.
Okay, it will resurrect.
It's always an issue of interest.
Okay, so now COVID-19 really dealt African nation a great blow, 2020. Yeah. Now, we are in 2021. What are the lingering effects with regards to the expectation on vaccines and the resurgence of the second wave of the virus?
You see, the Western world is making it really difficult, right, to accept the fact that this disease even exists. I don't want to say it doesn't exist. It exists, of course. But when you come with a disease today, you said there's a viral disease going in the world now, and you wake up the next day and you tell us that it has updated. Is it like an app on the computer? With
so
them,
do you also agree to the fact that there is actually
it's kind of conspiracy? Yeah, really? Because you don't
I don't believe in conspiracy anyway.
If a disease is going to this, I'm not an health expert, but I don't expect a disease within a few months to have updated itself and even become stronger, so that it can what we thought about initially was that, okay, this disease is new to the human immune system, so the human immune system may not have acclimatized itself to the disease, so it becomes weakened whenever the disease is attacked. But in time to come, we expected that the human immune system would have become familiarized itself with the disease and attack it once and fight back.
Yes.
So we expected that, okay, fine, it's going to be a matter of months and we get used to, just like we have flu and we don't die from flu. It comes, it goes, even without
like
treatment.
Malaria too.
Yeah, it will come, and which the human immune system
a lot of people live with HIV today.
But surprisingly, they are telling us that this thing has updated, and and I'm wondering, if they got it from Google Play Store, let them return it back there. We don't want it. This, despite the fact that no matter how we say in Africa, we've been a little bit lucky with the disease, probably because we are under-reporting it or under-testing, I cannot say, but we've not had the same numbers of deaths as the Western world has had. And they have been wondering, even Bill Gates has made a statement that, I don't know why African death rate is low. They are surprised about what is happening in Africa. Why is it not?
In the first place?
Yeah, he expected more dead. I think his wife even predicted it. Melinda Gates said that she's already imagining bodies lying dead on African streets and etc. So there was a lot of panic when it first came, and I think that was what caused the misdirection or the kind of the tackling that we gave to the disease. We were all about what is happening in the West, then we reciprocate same or put the same measures in place in Africa, and it really affected us.
Okay, now let's just say some leaders of African nations got it right, some didn't get it right. Okay, when we talk about South
No,
Africa,
I think majorly they all got it wrong because most of them almost collapsed the economies of their country.
Going forward now, 2021 is here. How do we prepare or prevent the spread of the hydra-headed monster that we're talking about?
I think it's going to be difficult, right? Because why I say it's going to be difficult is because we said, okay, use masks, right? Use hand sanitizers.
Social distance.
Social distances. We gave those measures, we put those measures in place. But surprisingly, it is those that put those measures in place that are dying from this disease. Oh. Talk of governors, presidents, these people have the opportunity to stay away from others.
Okay.
They use nose masks all the time. Then how are they getting affected by this disease? The current president the current governor of Lagos State in Nigeria has been infected or has contracted the disease twice in a row now. And this is somebody who uses nose masks all the time. He has the best doctors around him. He has people, he can maintain social distance. He doesn't need to move from here. He can ask people to do anything he wants to do from him. But still, he got it. Then tell me, if that man in that position can get this disease, then talk more of me who needs to move to the market, meet people. How am I going to avoid them? So if his nose mask cannot protect him, and he has access to the best nose mask, he can use even 10 nose masks a day, change every 1 hour, no problem about that. But I can't afford such amount of nose masks, or even pay for it, or even afford to stay away from others.
Don't worry, we'll
then
give you.
How am I going to protect myself?
I'm going to give you a bundle.
Like the initial expectation is that we were expecting the human immune system to be able to fight against this, but it now seems as if there's a huge conspiracy, because now they have come up with an advanced version of it, and it seems as if, I do believe that any disease that you cannot cure with natural remedy, you cannot find anything, no herbal thing you can take or something, or process you can take, maybe use hot water or something to cure it, then it means that there is something else involved
to
in
it.
this.
Okay.
Yeah, there's something else to it.
We should be expecting alien doctors that they will come to the world. Maybe when they are done with the Europe, they come to African continent to cure. It's been a very, very organic conversation, very critical, I would say, critical conversations on issues around African nations, African continent as a whole. And my guest, Ubaji Isiaka Abubakar Easy, has been doing justice to each of the cases raised on the program, from politics to war and to health. There are other aspects to the matter which we couldn't touch on the program today on Africa Diary. I'm very sure if you help me to plead, on behalf of the African Diary crew, to help talk to my guest to come for the second version of it, where we'll be able to touch economy, education, to which is grounded. Maybe he's going to oblige our call then. Thank you so very much, our viewer, for being part of the program, and thank you very much for coming on the show once again. It's a pleasure having you. Do we do, since you said there's a course?
No.
I don't want to do second week.
Let's not, we can do it, but I don't want something to say, he's encouraging people to do that.
Oh, so, yes. Of course, on this platform,
let's lead by examples.
We live by examples. Thank you very much for being part of the program from the very beginning up until now. Africa Diary is a program. It comes up every Friday at 8:30, and of course this program is also running live on our social media platform. My name is Ajara Tijani. We couldn't give you African Tomapep on this week, but never worry, next week we'll put it in the package. On behalf of the entire crew, on behalf of CBA TV, we want to wish you Happy New Year, happy prosperous 2021. Bye for now.